Hi everyone, today we're going to be 3D modeling lollipops. It'll be a lot of fun. They're going to be Halloween themed, so one of them's going to be a ghost, one's going to be a pumpkin, and the other one is going to be a cat, of course. And I really hope you enjoy this. If you do, please hit like and subscribe. Hey everybody, so last time we made this pumpkin, and before that we had created this scene here with all the candy and the candles. So that was a lot of fun. This time, let's make some more candy. So what I'm going to first start off with is thinking through what our options are. So I'm looking at this image right now of these candies falling out of the bag. And I think making something like the sucker would be a lot of fun. I also think these crinkly wrappers would be a lot of fun to create. So that's what I want to do for today. It looks like a lot of fun. So with that as our reference, we need to decide what candy we're making first. Let's actually make suckers that are in the shape of ghosts. So I'll go into our front view. And just to know the scale, I'm going to make this 1 inch by 1 inch by 1 inch. So I just made a cube that is 1 inch big because I feel like that's a good size for a sucker. And that's just to give me scale, but we're not actually going to be using this cube for much else. So what I'll do is I'll go into rigging tags and put on a protection tag, and this will keep me from moving this anywhere so that I can just use it as a bounding box for 3D modeling. And then I can also put on another tag. Let me find it. Render tag display, a display tag, and for this one we can choose to just have this show up as lines for right now. So we can see our box, but we can't click on it and move it as easily. Can't move this accidentally. So that's helpful because I'm going to be using this as a reference. The next thing that I'm going to do is click on the spline pen because I think what I'd like to do is draw a little ghost, and then we can use the ghost to create a sucker. So it's a lot like the Bezier tool in Illustrator and Photoshop if you've worked in those before. And after we put that here, we can also adjust some of these points to our liking. Maybe I want to move this one up and angle it a little bit more for the ghost's tail. I can even move these ends some more if I feel like they need to be closer together. You can also scale points, so if you want to reduce those handles, that's another way to do it. And now with our spline drawn, we can add in an extrude. Drop this guy in here. And you can see that this definitely extruded this way too much. So we'll take that down a notch. And we'll also add some caps, some rounded caps. This is looking like a cute ghost. So this looks better for a sucker. And I want to give this ghost some little cute eyes. So I'm going to use a sphere to do that. Just position them right here. And the great thing about this is that you can go back and adjust these points as you work. So if you change your mind, that's okay. You're not stuck with anything that you had done at the beginning. You can always make adjustments. If you decide you want the tail to have a little bit of a chamfer, you can do that as well. So I hit Shift C to pull this open, and here I can type in any command that I want. So I'm going to look up chamfer. Now that we have that selected, we can create that for our tail. And I think a chamfer is a little bit more fitting for this ghost, because if this is a candy, you don't want it to like cut you when you're eating it. So you don't want it to be pointy. That would be no fun. So I think this is a better way to go. And of course, we're going to need a cylinder to make a stick to hold the candy. That might be too much. This is looking better. I'm going to add in a cube. Make it kind of small. I'm going to turn on lines so that I can see what's happening a little bit more. And I can hide the old cube because we're done with that. This new cube, I'm going to add in more segments. And then I want to add in a twist modifier. I'm going to align this to the parent. And then I'm going to move this down. And now after we move this down, what we can do is adjust the angle. And then what I can also do is make this shorter. What I'm trying to do is to just have that twist that happens really close to a the candy. So we're for sure getting closer to having this twist work correctly. It just seems like there isn't enough geometry here, but we can fix that. I'm going to make this smaller and move it up some more. That's a little bit better. So we're starting to get a little bit more of a twist, and it's just because there's more segments. So I can do this manually too. I'm going to click ML and go back into edge mode. And I'm going to just start adding in some more loops so that when we twist this wrapper, it wraps much better around the candy. So that is helping it. That is for sure working. So this may take a little bit of adjusting, but we will get it done and it will look good. And I'm not worried about it. I'll put that right there. So now this is good because we're starting to have it wrap around the candy like that. Just to make this easier to work with, I'm going to say current state to object for this cube, which is actually going to be our wrapper. And now we can use this here and continue to edit it as needed. going to select these polygons and bend them this way. Select these polygons and bend them this way. Move these up a little bit. I want this to be asymmetric and to look just like a little bit random. So that they don't look quite so perfect. We don't want this to really look like it was made from a cube, even though it was. So I'm just going to basically crinkle this wrapper a little bit randomly, just to make it look a little bit less perfect. And I actually find this kind of fun to do. So this is looking pretty good. We still need this wrapper to wrap around this character a little bit better, so I'm just going to move these points over here. And then I'll move these points over here. And then I'm going to look at this from the top view, or maybe even the side view would be easier. Because now that we've done this, I want to bring in a few more of these vertices and scale them in just to add some more intricacies and imperfections. And I want this corner to not be so perfect because this is a plastic that's been fit around the sucker, so it's not going to be perfect. It shouldn't be a perfect square. And there we go. So now we have this sucker here wrapped around here. The one in the picture that I'm looking at, it has a little bow around it, which I think is a nice detail. We can go ahead and add that. I'm wondering if it might be too much if I add it because of everything else we have going on. I'm going to add in a plane. I'm going to copy these two lights from our pumpkin scene and paste them in here just to save some time. And turn on IPR, which means first I need to change this to redshift again. And I'll wait for this to render, and this is the beginning of our sucker. We need some materials though. You can pull open the materials with this button here. And then we'll go into redshift materials and we'll make a material there. We'll call this plastic. We'll move its refraction, which is basically its amount of see-through, all the way up to 1, the weight, and that will make this completely see-through. But you'll notice that it's see-through and it looks like glass. So in order to make a thin plastic material, we need to also make sure that we turn on thin-walled. So this is that little checkbox at the bottom. We turn that on, and now it looks like plastic. It's great. And we're starting to be able to see some of the reflections in the plastic because of the lights we dropped in. I think it would actually be fun though to make this plastic another color. So maybe this isn't a perfect see-through plastic. Maybe it's a little bit lime green because it's a spooky ghost and that makes it fun. And we could also copy and paste this plastic material. So now that we've copied and pasted this plastic material, I'm going to also make a more opaque material. So I'll take down the weight of the refraction and transmission, and I'll use this to hold the candy. So there we go. Now I'm going to go into our wrapper and hide it for a moment because we need to finish making our ghost. So what I'll do is add in a redshift material. I'll name it Ghost. And we'll make it a little bit of an off-white. And drop it in there. And we'll also need some eyes. So we'll need to add in that as well. So what I'll do is I'll change this to a glossy dark gray. I don't usually make blacks 100% black because I want there to be able to be some shadows and reflections on the material even if it's black, and most things in real life aren't 100% black. It's very hard to find something 100% black. Now that we have this, I'm going to turn back on the wrapper. And this guy is just oh so cute. So I don't know about you, but I think we should make some more suckers. I might go ahead and just scale in this twist a little bit. Oh, oops, I did that in the wrong place. I need to do that on our new wrapper, which is over here. I'm going to turn off IPR so that I can see what I'm doing. And this twist looks a little bit too perfect and a little bit too big. So I'm just gonna scale this in ever so slightly. And this is looking pretty good to me. So here's our little ghost dude, and he for sure needs some friends. So let's think about what else we'd like to make. Maybe we could make a pumpkin one. Pumpkins are fun. So now since we've gone through all this trouble, we really don't need to start all the way at the beginning again. I'm going to take all of these, drop them under the ghost tree note, null, and that way it'll be really easy to move around. I'm going to rename the cylinder stick and rename these spheres eyes. And there's a lot that we can reuse from this first one and the next one. So I'm going to move this over. You don't need to create the wrapper all over again, really, because we can just push around some polygons and get it to work. I'm going to hide the wrapper though, and I'm going to turn off this extrude because we're going to create a new shape. I'm going to delete the spline. So my plan here is to sketch out a pumpkin. And here we go, we've got a pumpkin. I think I might still keep the eyes the same shape, but I want to change the mouth. So what I'll do is I'll drop this pumpkin into this extrude. And I believe this roundness is too much for this angle, and that's why we're seeing that spike right there. So we definitely need to either smooth out this corner, or I think what I'll do is smooth out this corner. Do you see that right there? That overlapping? That's not good. We can also click on this point and chamfer it. So it's a little bit too much of a chamfer. This looks better to me. Now this is looking much better. I think I'd also like to chamfer over here. Like that. And this is looking better too. I'm going to make a new material and call this pumpkin orange. And we'll choose a classic pumpkin orange over here. And put it there. Something a little extra that I'd like to do is actually give him a mouth. So I'll go back into the spline. And I think I'll just draw him a little bit of a mouth here. When I hold down Shift, I can change directions. Which I find helpful. So now we have the spline, and I'm going to go into here to create a sweep. And we can simply just sweep a circle, but we're going to need to make this circle much smaller. And I'll add this to our pumpkin. In the side view, I'm going to move this forwards so that it's on top of the sucker instead of behind it. Now I'll turn back on the wrapper and we can see that it's completely out of place. But there's nothing to worry about that because it's again just moving around polygons. So we'll go back into point mode, grab some of the points, move them over here, move these over here. And I'll just make some small changes here so that it looks different, extra different from our ghost. I think repetition is what gives away that a lot of things are done in 3D. So if you can make little subtle changes, it goes a long way. I think, so you have a couple options here. You can keep this as a spline, or you can do something else. I might want to try doing an extrude. So I'll make this extrude a lot smaller. And now we have a mouth on the sucker. We can create one more because I feel like groups of 3 are good. So similar process, copy and paste. Or we could make a black cat, that might be fun. Yeah, let's make a black cat. I think I'm going to make the face. I'll move this pumpkin treat over here. Turn off the IPR. I'm going to temporarily hide this wrapper. And I'm going to turn off this, delete the pumpkin. We don't need that anymore. I'll go into front view by hitting the middle mouse button, and I'll grab the pen tool. And I think for this one, I just want to make the face of the cat. So he's a pretty simple looking cat. I'm going to move both of these eyes down a little bit. I'm actually going to make the cat's eyes this green color instead. It's time to turn on the wrapper. So here we are, we've made 3 lovely treats for Halloween. And I hope you found this helpful. I think it was fun. Something that I kind of want to try just for fun is to grab these treats, copy them, go back to this jar tutorial over here. What if we added these suckers into the jar? And there you go.